Hello and welcome to Seattle City Makers. I'm your host, Jon Scholes. Welcome to our latest episode, everybody. I'm joined by Denise Moriguchi, who is the third generation CEO of Uwajimaya, who of course operates their flagship grocery store in the International District in downtown Seattle, among other locations. Denise and I discuss the origin story of the nearly 100-year-old company that she's led for the last 8 years and its growth plans. We discuss the grocery industry in Seattle, housing, an area that Uwajimaya is also involved in and invested in, the state of the International District in Seattle, and her first job, as well as her perfect Saturday in Seattle. Hope you enjoy my conversation with Uwajimaya CEO, Denise Moriguchi. Well, thank you for doing this and making time to come over and visit with us. And you all are in a growth mode and want to talk about that. But maybe first, I was surprised to see that, we're coming up on almost the 100th anniversary birthday of Uwajimaya. And it's, you've been in the role 8 years. And I was just doing the math from an article from when you took over. And I was like, wait, they're going to be 100 years old here soon. That's a milestone.
It is. It's super exciting. My grandparents started the business in the 1920s. And so we say 1928 is when we started. Mm-hmm. There was, of course, a little hiatus with the war, and they were sent away to California, to Tule Lake.
Concentration camps.
Yep.
Yeah.
But after they left the camp, they came back and they started in Seattle. So almost 100 years in the Pacific Northwest, because the first store was actually Tacoma. Mm-hmm. And then ever since the 40s, so I can't do math that quickly, but let's see, almost 80 years in Seattle, Chinatown-International District.
What led them to start the store in the first place?
So what I've been told is my grandfather was not the oldest son. So at that time in Japan, if you weren't the oldest son, you didn't get land. You kind of had to do your own thing to make your living. And so he was not the oldest son, so he decided to come to the U.S., and his goal was to make some money and then go back home and then be able to buy land and start his family. So he left Japan in, I think it was, the late 1920s, came over here. And at the time, there's a lot of Japanese workers in the area, in Tacoma, in the Pacific Northwest, working on fishing camps, logging camps, mining camps, the railroad. So they were doing a lot of jobs that I think previously Chinese workers had been doing. And then there was a whole Chinese Exclusion Act. So then Japanese workers started coming over. And he decided rather than work in one of those camps, he would provide food, Japanese food to those workers. So he had a truck and he would go around to where they were living and he would sell them the Japanese staples. And his, well-known or famous product was these Japanese fish cakes, where he learned to make them in the town of Uwajima. And so then means store. So then Uwajimaya became the store name. So that was, his
food trucks in the early 1900s. We think they're a relatively new concept.
I know.
So the store started out of a food truck.
Yeah, so really just wanting to bring the taste of home to those who were living here that didn't have easy access to it. So that's how he started. And then I heard as those men started getting married, so you probably heard of picture brides. So women were coming over, they were, getting married via photo. So I know we still have food trucks, and we used to have, it's kind of, I think of old school Tinder, you'd have a picture and you'd say, that looks like a great match or whatever. And so women were arriving in Tacoma and they would get married. So then families started, people started having families. And so actually my grandfather also got married to my grandmother, and they started a family.
From a photo.
Well, I think theirs was more mutual connection, like someone of put them in touch. But so then the dynamics of the store changed, because then it was actually selling to families. So that's when they opened a storefront in Tacoma. So I think that was 1928 when we actually had a physical store presence in Tacoma.
There are no new ideas. Food trucks original Tinder from photos.
Well, like
it's all been done.
Sushi, like I heard we're one of the first sushi prepared, like to go, or grocery stores that sold packaged sushi. And that's kind of cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So take it and go.
Yeah.
Was here.
That's what I've been told.
It's the family lore.
It was before my time. Yeah.
And you worked on the East Coast, I know. Went to school on the East Coast for 20 or so years and working in marketing, brand strategy before you came back to take an official role at the store, leading marketing. You grew up working at the store, I know, and bagging groceries and doing other things during the holidays. But when did you know you wanted to come back after being away for 2 decades on the East Coast? And what drew you back to the family business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So growing up, all the cousins, we always would help out in the store, as you said. So like around the holidays, bagging groceries and doing little jobs here or there that never really made me say, hey, I want to take over Uwajimaya.
This looks like fun.
Yeah.
Did you think it was fun being in there as a kid, or you're like, oh, they're making us
It was a little bit of both.
Work. I'd rather be doing something else.
Yeah, it was fun because I was doing it with family, with cousins.
With your cousins.
But then sometimes when it's like raining and you're going to collect shopping carts out of the parking lot, it's like, this is not that fun. But, or my dad would say, hey, go pick up that trash over there. And I'd be like, really? He's like, yes, go do it. I'm like, okay, fine. So it didn't feel like fun at the time.
Were they paying you, or were you this was just, you had to do it?
I think we weren't really getting paid. We were volunteering. Although now I know, we do pay all our employees, even if they're family members. But at the time, I think maybe we just would get some lunch or something like that.
Some of that to-go sushi.
Yes. But so it was always part of me, but I never really thought I was going to lead the company. And so I wanted to do my own thing, went to the East Coast, as you said, for school and for working. And then when I had my daughter in Canada, so this was 2012, was really wanting to be closer to home. And I had done my MBA and had worked in business and consulting. And so I think it was really then that I realized how important family is and how much Seattle really just, it's like, wow, Seattle's a great place. Not only do I have family, but it's a wonderful city. And around then my aunt Tomoko, who was former CEO, she announced that she was going to be retiring. So it just seemed like the stars had aligned that she was looking to retire. The company was looking for the next third generation leader. And I was missing home and wanting to move home, and also felt like I had the skills needed to lead the company. So I was like, okay, this is all lining up. So I moved back to Seattle and joined the company in a marketing role, and then kind of expressed interest in leading the company, being the next generation leader.
But they didn't just hand it to you. They looked at 3 dozen candidates, a number of whom were members of the family as well.
Yeah, so we had we have a board of directors, and that's been really helpful for our growth and for having good policy and governance. So the external board members were the ones who led the kind of search, and I think that was great because it really...
The non-family board members?
The independent. The independent directors led that search. And so it took out, kind of past history or assumptions or just kind of preconceived notions of who the best candidate was. And so, the independent directors led that process. And it was very cordial. It was funny, one time I was talking to someone and they're like, oh, it sounded like American Gladiator. I'm like, no, it wasn't like that at all. But I think it was kind of a mutual alignment on, that it would be me. And so I was very honored and still am very humbled that the family entrusts me to continue to lead Uwajimaya.
I know I think it was the chair of your board at the time, Jim or Jon, said about you when you were hired that you were very forward thinking and looking and strategic. And that was one of the key qualities in their decision to bring you in, that you weren't just looking at the business today, but really thoughtful about its future. And one of the things I know you said when you came in that you wanted to be really conscious about the brand strategy and how people thought of Uwajimaya and thinking of it more than the Asian grocery store. How did you approach the brand and marketing and what people view Uwajimaya as, since that was so important, I know to you as you came in?
Well, so let's see how many. My math is bad, but how many years? I mean, Uwajimaya was definitely over 80 years, probably 83 or something like that, maybe more years old when I stepped in. So it already had this amazing brand. People knew, everyone had kind of in their mind what Uwajimaya stood for. So my challenge or opportunity was really harnessing that and getting it down on paper and capturing what makes Uwajimaya so special, but capturing it so we can all align on it and make sure we're kind of consistent in the how we talk about it and what it is. So I feel like I was really lucky in that for the last, say my grandparents and my aunts and uncles and my dad, they built this amazing brand. And my job was really, again, to just capture it and really make sure that we were articulating it and that we were making it continued to be relevant for today. I think the scene of Asian food and food options and grocery options is so different today than it was 10, 20, 100 years ago, that we have to make sure that we're keeping it relevant.
In Seattle, in this region.
Yeah, for sure in Seattle. And then, probably nationally and internationally, but really especially where we do business. And so it was a lot of listening and just working with some agencies to just make sure we're really distilling and capturing what we want to be, and then articulating it so that it's consistent in how we show up to the customer, how we show up in our stores, how we show up in weekly ads, how we show up in the community. And so it was just capturing things and pulling it together. And we continue to do that even today. I think there's a lot of work, but then it is an ongoing process because every day, every year, every time changes. So we have to keep making sure that we are retaining what's amazing, but also adapting to our current environment.
What's the ideal brand identity for you? What do you want people to think and feel about the brand Uwajimaya?
Yeah, we are committed to quality goods. We're committed to the community. We are Asian American, but we have Japanese roots. So, we try to do things in a Japanese kind of way in terms of how we approach customer service, how we want, strict high qualities for our products, but we also want to be modern and innovative. So it's kind of this it's this push-pull, dual kind of who we are. It's more complex, I feel, than kind of just some other brands that I've worked on. And I've worked with, I've worked with this cultural anthropologist on Uwajimaya, and she was like, wow, your brand is so different in that, if you think about a PCC or a Whole Foods, they have of course they have a wide range of customers, but they have kind of a unifying, some unifying values that really, maybe you can define that shopper. But we have two different, almost completely different shoppers. One we call the loyalist, who's very aware of what they're cooking, what they want, what the ingredients with their food, what they come in and they're like, I know what I want. And then we have this other customer we call Explorer, and they're very I'm not sure which soy sauce is the best. I'm not sure what I want to make. I just know that I'm interested in Thai food, or I had something in a sushi restaurant and I want to explore. And so because of that, we have this very unique kind of customer base and offering that we offer, both innovative and the traditional, modern, traditional, new, but we want to have the old school. We want to have what's the latest trends, but we want to have the staples, so it's an interesting kind of thing that we wrestle with on who we are. But I think we're committed to quality foods, Asian selection, and the community for sure.
You're going to have expert terrain and beginner terrain.
Yeah.
It sounds like. For people that know what they're doing when it comes to Asian food, know what they want, know what they're going to prepare, but those that are exploring, as you
Yeah.
said.
And I would say the universal thing is that we are more than just a grocery store. We're not just selling food, but what I love is that people, they have stories or they have memories or they have, it's so much more about human connection and like human connection than food. Eating like, I don't know, a rice ball. It's more than that. It's that time where they were in Japan and they had this and that they had a great memory, or it's the food that they grew up with, or it's something that they've just read about in an anime book and they want to try it. So I love that for us, it's more about the experience, the connection, and all that than just the food.
Mm-hmm. Back to your own leadership. Do you feel a special obligation or responsibility in how you lead a family company and involving, you have a board where you have other family members that are on the board that you're reporting to, so you've got a responsibility there. But beyond that board, how do you juggle and balance your own leadership and vision and desire for the company and what you think is right and the perspective opinions of your family members?
Yeah. Well, I'll say that was the biggest kind of I don't want to say surprise, but I think when I took this job, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to be running a grocery store. And, there's strategic thinking and data that I can bring to this. And I soon realized that the role is so much more than leading a grocery store. I think, as you mentioned, family, like leading a family business, there is a big obligation, and beyond family, it's to the community, and to the Chinatown-International District, to the Seattle community, to the Pacific Northwest community. And so I think that was where I didn't realize at the beginning of the job how important that being part of the community and listening to family members and really being a steward for this business for the next generations to come, how much that was part of the role rather than just, having good strategies and good operations. It was around really listening and championing the family and also the district, the Chinatown International District, Seattle, these communities. So, but I think that makes it actually the most rewarding is that it's not just running a business for the bottom line, but it is about our employees, about our community, about the family. So sometimes it definitely is, can get intense. But again, I do think that's what makes it the most rewarding.
And you not only have family members on the board, but also as employees, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you have a lot of different dynamics.
Yeah. Yep.
And then family members that aren't employees and aren't on the board, but probably have opinions over the business.
Yeah, for sure. And we just had a 2-day family meeting offsite. There was 60 of us, and we went to Semiahmoo for 2 days, and we gave business updates, but we talked a lot about the future and the vision and growth and listen to a lot of different ideas. And I think that's important to really make sure that everyone feels heard. So it was an intense 2 days, but it was really good.
So you put structure around listening to everybody's voices and creating opportunities for input.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about grocery as people think of Uwajimaya. Traditionally, they think of, the food. You also got into the business of developing housing and repurposing the Publix hotel several years ago. You still own it as
Publix,
right? Yeah,
majority. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have further plans to develop additional real estate?
Yeah, I would say real estate is something we kind of stumbled into because we were fortunate to acquire some of the property in the neighborhood, the Chinatown District, really as to support our operations at the beginning. But now, we realize that there's potential to do more development. We have our old Uwajimaya store located across the street that right now is, part of it's the Publix, but the other half is kind of still a single story. So when the time is right, we do want to figure out how we can get a better use out of that for the community, for Uwajimaya, for family members. And so I think we have been studying kind of what that might look like. We don't have anything planned right now. But we do think it would be a better use for everybody if it wasn't just a single story.
You've got capacity to go up and add density to that to that site.
Yeah.
And the parking lot as well, right?
The parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have growth plans for grocery.
We do.
Recently there was the news about the Issaquah
Yeah.
store.
That was crazy. We've been looking at a number of locations. We'd been looking in Issaquah for a while. This one came up as a Rite Aid lease, like as part of their bankruptcy, they were auctioning off their leases. And so it was a very short timeline to do all the due diligence and figure out, if this is right for us. But we did kind of jumped into it. I mean,
you were really looking in that market, but not specifically that site until it kind of came your way.
Yeah. And so it's a little bit smaller footprint than our normal.
Where is it exactly?
It's on Gilman, where there was, there's like a Hobby Lobby and Trader Joe's and some other retail there. So it's in that complex. So great visibility, great access. So we're excited about it, but it is a slightly smaller footprint. So we will, you have to figure out, how do we make that location work? But I'm confident that we will and that the customers are there. And I think it's a great opportunity for us.
And you experimented a few years ago with a smaller footprint, the Kai Market over in South Lake Union.
Yeah.
It's not operating now.
Correct.
But do you have further plans to look at these smaller urban type of markets? I can't remember what the square footage
that one was about 5,000 square feet.
Yeah, so it was pretty small.
It was small. And so it was primarily a grab-and-go lunch destination, which did fine pre-COVID. It was just kind of just making it on lunch. And then with COVID, we kind of realized probably wouldn't get back to where we needed it to. So, that is no longer a concept that we have. So I think we're open to it. We're going to try this smaller grocery store concept this first. And
what'd you say the square footage in Issaquah was?
23,000.
Okay.
Yeah. And so our store's 35, 40, a little bit bigger. So it's not drastically smaller, but we will, tighten up a little bit of our assortment, and it'll be a little bit smaller than our other stores.
So this doesn't seem to be the easiest time to be running a grocery store, a drugstore in Seattle in particular. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, the Fred Meyer, Kroger announced the closure of the Fred Meyer up in Lake City, and another one. We've seen the demise of Bartell's, and you mentioned, Rite Aid closures as well. How would you describe kind of the current operating environment for grocery in Seattle? What's going well? What needs to be improved so that you can continue to be successful here in 100 years and beyond?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think there's a lot of things that are good. There's a lot of challenging things. So let's see, challenging at the highest level, like, administration, like dealing with tariffs has not been fun. It's been a whiplash of where we think, is it going to be 40%? Is it going to be 20%? Is it going to be not? Is it, that has been really hard to deal with. And something that, every day is still changing.
So you're already feeling the effects of tariffs. There's the uncertainty of what's going to happen that probably creates a ton of challenges for your business, but you're feeling
some prices have increased due to tariffs. It hasn't been across the board. There's been varying, because it wasn't like day one, everything went up. There's been, some of our distributors had a lot of inventory. So as they work through that, then later, I think now they're starting to get hit with more tariffs. And so then we're starting to see some price increases. But so that uncertainty, knowing how to plan has been challenging. I think another challenging thing is, how does that impact customers and their spending and just their sentiment? I think I was reading some article about a water sports company this summer. They just thought that there's, just people weren't spending the same way this summer. And so, we've we've seen a little bit of that. It's hard to tell always what exactly is driving, maybe if sales are up or sales are down. But, I do think people are starting to be a little more concerned about their dollar and where they spend it.
Yeah.
Public safety issues are always a challenge. Not only in Seattle, though. We have security at Seattle, but we've added them to our Bellevue and Renton stores as well. And so it's not only a Seattle problem. Seattle, probably we see the most activity and the most interesting cases, but it's not only Seattle. And so that does create a challenge. It's expensive to hire security. And then, it takes a toll on the team. And even sometimes, the customers get uncomfortable when there are incidents that you see things happen.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. Expenses have been going up, not just wages, but healthcare costs and insurance costs, and it seems like everything is getting more expensive. But then at the same time, I feel so fortunate in Seattle and actually, Pacific Northwest. We have great customers. We have people who love food, love Asian food, who love quality food. So, I think that's still growing and we still see that. And so I think that's something that I love, that people still are moving here and people still want to eat great food. And so those are working in our favor.
I imagine, too, if people are watching their wallets a little more closely and not eating out as much, that maybe that is a good thing for folks running grocery stores.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, make it at home.
Yeah. So I think, there's a lot of pluses and there's puts and takes, pluses and minuses. But overall, we're 100% committed to being in Seattle, love the community. So we just figure out how to make it work. And we get lots of love from our customers. So we'll be here for sure.
You mentioned the neighborhood of the ID, Chinatown-International District. How would you describe sort of just the current state of the neighborhood?
I feel like it's getting better. It does seem like 3 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes you see kind of there will be more activity and then maybe that things seem a little bit quiet and then something pops up. I think things are getting a little bit better. I still see, people sitting on the street, have to walk by them. And I know they're not in a good place mentally, physically, and it's really heartbreaking. I feel like some of the mayor's efforts have done a decent job. The United Care team, we see them out around town, and I feel like there's been more effort to try to make things better. But again, it's a little bit of progress and then a little bit of backpedaling and then more progress. So definitely not, there's still room for improvement, but I do see it trending positively.
Do you expect to feel positive effects from World Cup in June of 26 in the neighborhood, for the store, for your business? I know the International District, when All-Star Week occurred a year or so ago in July of 24, there was a lot of folks who said, hey, we didn't feel a lot of customer traffic and energy and pedestrians. We didn't see them in the ID. Do you expect that to be different for World Cup?
I do. So Club Cup, we saw some increased traffic, and I do
this
think,
past June,
I think the fan that's going to be here, especially if we get some, I don't know if Japan or Korea, play, that would be really amazing. So I think we saw an increase in people visiting the store. I think some of the restaurants, the hard part is it does keep some of our regulars away.
Right.
But I still think overall for the city, it's an exciting thing. And if we can embrace it and figure out how to really, welcome these people who may be from just, the U.S., but they may be international, and really celebrate all that our neighborhoods have to offer, I think that would be best. And I think we will definitely see, because of that more worldly fan, I think we'll see more activity. And then I think we have to work at it as well. Like we can't just expect everyone to come in, but we have to be more
know
proactive.
Where to go and what the cool things to check out.
Yeah. But overall, I think it will be great for the neighborhood. But for sure, it's going to be hard on parking for someone who just wants to come and get some dim sum. Just like the regular Saturday, it will be a challenge for them and may keep them away. But I think it'll be exciting to really showcase everything that we have to offer.
Yeah. Are there some notable leadership lessons that you have taken from your 8 years in this role as you approach a decade leading this company, and thinking back to when you took over as CEO to where you are today and where the company is?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest learnings I've had are the importance of really selling the big picture vision and getting the buy-in, and really making sure people they understand that before you try to move too quickly. I think, when I came in, I was like, oh, we can do this and this and this, and just super excited about all the opportunity. But then I realize now, by just focusing on, hey, let's do this, people who had been there a long time didn't really feel like maybe their past work was valued, or like maybe they had tried it and it was different, but now, I was focusing on the shiny new thing and not really recognizing everything that had come before and just honoring all that had been there before. And so now I really, I think that's was a key learning on just, hey, let's make sure everyone understands and it's bought in before we move. And, I think that's my biggest learning. And then, as I talked about, like, just understanding, we're not just running a grocery store. I'm not just running a grocery store. We are part of the community. We are, we have a bigger mission and purpose than just selling groceries.
Was that retreat in Semiahmoo happening before you got there, or is that a way that you're listening and bringing people along, honoring the past, creating new ways of folks to give their input? Is that something you've been doing a long time? Or
we have done them before. I think this might have been our 5th or 6th family retreat, but we hadn't done one in over 10 years. And I think I stepped into my role and then was doing some kind of figuring out where we were, and then COVID happened, and then it's kind of head down, and the time was finally right. And so it was something we had done, but it was overdue for the family. And so, and there's actually a lot of new family members. I mean, the last one was 10 or 12 years ago. And, some of my cousins' kids who are now in their 30s, at the time, they weren't married, and I didn't have kids, and I wasn't working at the company. So a lot of just different perspectives now. And so I think, it was really valuable.
I know your dad was in the role for over 40 years. Is that right?
Yep.
Do you envision yourself in the role quite that long?
Not that long, for sure. I think it's good to have a decent tenure, that you kind of get your feet wet, you get grounded, you know where your direction is headed, and you can set it. But 40 years is a long time. Maybe a little less than half that. I don't know exactly, but I still feel young, but I know at some point I want to make room for fresh ideas.
When's the opening date for Issaquah?
That we don't know yet. Probably maybe spring 27. It takes a while. We still have to understand a lot of the building, like the power capabilities and things like that. And then, so we don't have a strict timeline yet. We're working towards that. I think we just officially got the lease turned over to us last week. So we're working through it, figuring out what state the building's in and what we'll need to do. It will be more than a year, and I know we don't want to open right during the holiday season. So I'm thinking, early 2027.
And are you looking at other markets? Are you in a growth mode, or should we expect more announcements soon?
Yeah, we definitely want to find more areas to open within the Pacific Northwest. I think there's a demand for it. There's customers out there. We have something amazing that we can bring to them. We just have to find the right location. And it's not easy finding the locations that meet all our needs with parking needs and delivery, the docks and all that. So my cousin Mia, she leads that, site selection process, and she's busy. She's looking at sites all the time. A lot of times they don't fit the criteria that we have. And so, but we would love to find more stores. So if there's 30,000 square feet plus with good parking and people have good, sites, we'd love to hear about them.
Come see Mia.
Yeah.
We have a couple standard questions, Denise. One, what's your first job that you got paid for? Running carts around in the rain on a volunteer basis doesn't count. But what was your first job you took a paycheck for? Was it in the store?
It was not. I guess I didn't get paid. Working at Uwajimaya. My first paid job was working at Zebra Club down in the Pike Place Market, right around there. And I was a cashier.
That was a clothing shop? Yeah.
Yep. They sold the
First
sweatshirts
Ave.
with the Z. Yeah. And they had sold really fancy jeans. And so I was a cashier there. It was the summer before I went to college.
Do you carry those lessons forward? Can you relate to your cashiers and people checking people out because of your time behind the cash register?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other thing was that I got to know all the other, I call them kids because we were all kids, working there. And it was, that becomes your kind of your family. Yeah. A lot of them working there were, that was their full-time thing. And they weren't from here. So that was their family. So it was interesting to kind of get to know people from different walks of life and share that and have, become friends with them.
I think everybody should work at some point in their life in retail or restaurants.
Yeah.
Make you a better, more thoughtful customer.
Yeah, for sure.
And our final question is, what's your perfect Saturday in the Seattle area?
Yes, I was thinking about that. And most of my Saturdays, I have to admit, are spent watching kids' soccer games. But I did have a perfect Saturday.
I can relate.
Yes. I have 3 this Saturday. But
3 soccer games.
Yes. But, I had one a few months ago that I really loved. At the end of the day, I was like, that was an amazing day in the city. And so what I did, my son and I, we took the bus from the Park and Ride on Mercer Island to, Chinatown-International District. We hopped off. We went to Fuji Bakery. We got some pastries. We went to Uwajimaya and got more food. And we brought it to a Sounders game. Because, you can bring food, your own food.
Yeah.
So we grabbed lots of yummy things. He loves rice balls and crackers and all those goodies. So we brought it into the Sounders game, watched the Sounders game. And then after, my husband and daughter and our dog, they met us around the stadium after. And we walked the waterfront all the way to Pike Place. But we stopped at that little beach, the new beach. Habitat Beach. My kids... they threw so many rocks. I don't know if you're allowed to, but all these kids.
I think it's okay.
Okay, just tons of kids were just throwing rocks into the water.
Toward the water, not downtown.
Into the water. And I'm thinking, are they going to have enough rocks? And then we kept walking, and there was Molly Moons. We didn't get it that day, but my perfect Saturday, I would get Molly Moons. The line, I think they had just opened that day, so the line was really long. But my perfect Saturday.
I hear she's crushing it down there.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
I would definitely stop there. And then those swing chairs, my kids spent time on those.
I always forget those are there.
Yeah, they were fun. You're overlooking fairies and water and just so beautiful. And then we walked all the way to the Pike Place Market, and it's great people watching. And if you want any food, we stopped at Beecher's Cheese. It's just anything you want, great food right around you. Stopped at the park, I forget that, grassy knoll or grassy park at the very end with the totem pole.
Oh, Victor Steinbrook, which has also been recently redone.
Yeah. The dog and I were chilling there for a little bit. So it was, you get the views, you get the food, you get the people watching. That really was a great day. I just reminded me.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you'll be able to take a train.
Yes.
from Mercer Island, right?
Yes, one day.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Next
soon.
year, at
Is
some
it?
point
Okay.
in the year, I
Yeah.
think. That sounds like a great day.
It was.
And a good reminder to folks that you can stop at Uwajimaya before a Sounders game match
Yes.
and bring food in.
Yes.
Well, thanks for making time for this,
Thank
Denise, and
you.
for your leadership of the almost 100-year-old incredible Seattle company and your stewardship of it. And thanks for being willing to come serve on the board of the Downtown Seattle Association as a new member. We didn't mention that, but we should. Bringing an important voice on behalf of your company and important neighborhood in the greater downtown. So
great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Denise. Appreciate her coming on Seattle City Makers and appreciate her service on the board of the Downtown Seattle Association. It's great to have her as a new member of our board and to have her voice and perspective in the downtown community. Well, I want to close out with a recommendation of something you got to check out in downtown Seattle. And I just walked by the new sign that says Carmine's is opening this fall. No specific month or date yet, but it was exciting to see the sign at 6 between Union and Pike in the beautiful redeveloped city center building across from the Sheridan. Keep your eyes on that spot. It's going to be phenomenal. Got in the space right before they started construction to get a sense of the layout and have a private event space, a great bar, and a beautiful restaurant space. So very much looking forward to Carmine's second Seattle location. They do such a great job. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on this episode of Seattle City Makers presented by the Downtown Seattle Association with support from James Cito and production by Thread Theory.